Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the MMA Plug presented by MMAtees.shop. Right now at the MMA Plug, we're in a bit of a transition state. As you notice, we are not in the Mile High studio right now, but we could use your help to get us back into the studio and cover that overhead. If you go to www.mmatees.shop, pick up some of this, fantastic merch like our big friend over here, the Big Yin's signature t-shirt. Also, this is the first time that we're talking to you since Josh is fresh off of that big win. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us. I'm Jordan Kurtz. Follow me along at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. As mentioned, we're here with the Big Yin's Josh Friend. Give him that follow at Josh Friend MMA. First and foremost, Josh, anything you want to tell the people after you got that big win?
Yeah, thanks for sticking with me. Been a rough little road, the beginning of the UFC run, but got the first one under my belt. Now I think we're ready to roll. We're ready to go get on a run here and get a couple fights under our belts, get a couple wins going, and we're good to go.
Absolutely. I mean, just obviously, very close to the forest on this one, but, the elation from my side, getting to see you get that big win, getting up, saying like, I'm here, I belong. Like that brought me goosebumps. Somebody was cutting a little bit of onions around just because I know how much has gone into this, being around and being blessed to be a part of the journey this close to it, that's something that was massive. And I know how much you put into it. I know the lifelong dedication that's gone into getting to not just getting to the UFC, but then being able for yourself to say, I'm here, I belong. You said all along, you won't feel like it's real until you got your hand raised with those three letters. Is it real, motherfucker?
That it is, man. And Kurtzy, I can't thank you enough. You've been a real one, man, with from LFA to FAC to the UFC. You've been there pretty much hyping me up the whole time, more than I hype myself up. So I really appreciate that. And it feels amazing because like I said before, I wouldn't feel like a UFC fighter until I got a win. I know a lot of people like, oh, you made it, you're in the UFC. Nah, I haven't made anything yet. I got to win. I got to win a couple in a row. I got to make some real money. Then I'll consider myself making it. But it was good to get the first one out of the way. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that it just has to be a level of validation, for all of the blood, sweat, and tears and sacrifice all along the way. I mean, the harm on just the miles on the body to the mental miles of going through weight cuts to, hey, like I'm on the regional scene, I'm on the bubble. Am I going to get the call? Am I going to get the call? Then it finally comes. And then, oh shit, it's time to roll.
Yeah. And it's from what everyone sees on TV to what it actually feels like when you're in there with your feet on the canvas with the lights. Like it's a completely different animal in there. And I think I got it figured out. So I can't wait for the next one. And you're going to see a better version of Josh Fremd in there because, I got the win, but there's so much in that fight that I just wish I could redo. And I can't wait to move forward, and go show a new version of myself.
But as we've said many times on this program, folks, always better to learn off of a win.
Amen.
And again, if you want to support the Big Yins, go ahead and go to MMAtees.shop. You got to type in the www. That's www.mmatees.shop. Pick up the Big Yins t-shirt. There's a crew neck on there. There's another signature item there. We also have MMA Plug merch. So go check that out. Support us along the way, and we'll keep on delivering this great content there for you. But without further ado, we're going to bring to you our UFC 286 breakdown. This is a pay-per-view that is pretty much coming right off the heels of UFC 285 just a couple weeks ago. Another situation, though, where a guy who was considered or is at least in the running of one of the greatest of his division, he's one of only four people, or he could be the fourth person to come back after being a reigning champion, getting knocked out cold, and coming back to get that belt. That is Kamaru Usman challenging for the title over there in London against Leon Rocky Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge rematch. I think that with Kamaru, he was undefeated. He was just ragdolling everyone. Just every time he got in the cage, you saw a new facet of his game. And his last fight with Leon, he was winning that entire fight up until that one split moment, which is all it takes. In this game, it's all it takes. But Rocky is renewed with a sense of confidence and belief in himself. I mean, if you can get beat up for 4.5 rounds and still be able to pull it off, that gives you that confidence that you can go in the fire and you can pull it out. So I'm really excited to see this type of matchup because we got a confident Rocky and we got a chip on his shoulder, Kamaru. So
Definitely. And I mean, how much does that go into the mindset of Kamaru being able to say, you know what? Because I think that he's handled it on the mental side very well. He hasn't seemed like it's been something that, like, okay, like it's really wearing on me. I think Kamaru's kind of taken the mindset of, because this will be their trilogy fight.
yeah,
He basically dominated for 7 rounds and 4 minutes of that additional 8th round that they've been in the cage for.
yeah.
So I think for Kamaru on that side, it's probably more of a thought process of, you know what, like, it's not to say that you got lucky, but you caught me slipping in that moment. You picked up on something that I left open. All I got to do is go another minute and not make that simple mistake. And I'm still cruising with the belt around my waist.
Yeah, and if anyone can do that from a mentality standpoint, it's Kamaru Usman. The guy is just so mentally strong and focused in everything he does. I think we see and new.
I mean, I have a hard time not saying that it's going to be and new, but I feel like there's been a couple of title fights and high level picks as of recent that, to be all completely fair, I missed. I mean, I never thought that Alexa Grasso was going to be able to do the unthinkable and choke out Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, that caught a lot of people off guard.
You mentioned the confidence factor for Rocky now, and he's in his backyard over there at the O2 Arena. That could play very well into his side, but it also could potentially be a detriment to him, potentially, because Rocky is a guy who doesn't usually have a ton of media attention, or doesn't have, like, even we talked about it on the show last time leading up into the second fight, was the discrepancy of views and the people that were engaging on the interviews and the media that was put out with Leon. It was a fraction of the margin compared to some of the other fighters that were on the card. Now that he's the champion, now that he does have that 12 pounds of gold around his waist, and it is happening over there at the O2, all the attention is on him.
It's all him.
Of the media opportunities, every which way that he could be getting pulled, he is. So for someone maybe who hasn't had to deal with that sort of, and you don't necessarily, if you're on the outside, think of it as an energy drain, but especially when you're going through the process of cutting weight and having to dial in the mentals for a fight, that's an extreme obstacle that you're having to factor into play. Like, how much do you think that might play a role for Leon, whereas Kamaru is used to that for a while?
I mean, I think it plays a huge role in how you mentally prepare. I mean, I'm nowhere near the level of Kamaru or Leon when it comes to that or the media, but just even the little media that I do, like sometimes it does, you're low on calories, low on water. You have people asking you the same questions over and over again. And some reporters aren't, they're not the nicest when it comes to it. They try and trick you and get you to speak in, twist your words, so if he handles
it, aerial,
trying to aerial, but yeah, I mean, if he handles it well, which I think he probably will, he has a good people in his corner to help him out with that. If he can handle it well, then I think it's going to bode well for him in the cage.
I totally agree there. But again, though, I mean, Leon obviously shows that he possesses tools within his skill set to be able to finish the show with one. So it's a fist fight. Anything can happen, but I have a hard time personally not giving the lead towards the Nigerian Nightmare and reclaiming that throne.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, every time I see the video of Rocky in between his rounds coming into the fifth, like, it's hard not to be like, that's who I want to go with, because you build on emotion. But I do think, just the work that Kamaru's done with Leon, with his past opponents, like, it's just hard to go against him.
Definitely. Well, speaking of past opponents, I think there was something that, it made headlines and was all over social media this morning that was otherwise kept under wraps really well. I mean, personally, like, I feel like I have a pretty good pulse to the game, and I didn't know that this was happening. Colby Covington weighed in as the back.
Yeah, I didn't know that was happening. Apparently, Kamaru and Leon knew, but I had no idea. When I saw him getting up there, I was like, oh, I haven't heard from that dude in over a year. He's been MIA. So, I mean, it's good that we have that. It's good on the UFC to have him there, because whether it's Leon or Kamaru, if Colby steps in there, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to get the people still interested in the fight itself.
Well, and I think also to that point, that makes sense why we haven't seen anything booked right now for Colby.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
To me, it makes a lot of sense because I think there was a lot of questions of would Kamaru be ready by March because of the hand injury that he had surgery on. So, all this talk along, like, why isn't Colby being booked with, with Shavkat? Why isn't he being booked with Hamza? Like, where are these fights at? I think that it was all along like, hey, like just stay under the radar. Mum is the word for right now, so that there isn't a whole lot of extra headlines or things just being conjured up by the media. We'll keep you in the shadows for a minute, but you're going to be the backup fighter. If something falls out, we're slotting you right in.
Yeah, backup fighter in case anything happens. And hey, you also get paid a nice chunk of money to go make weight, even if you don't fight.
And for someone like Colby, who doesn't really cut a whole ton of weight in the first place, thank you for the bread.
Thank you. Peace.
Absolutely. But moving along to the co-main event, which some might argue is the people's main event. And this is going to be a first team all violence fight. You have the guy who creates car crashes and a guy who brings a car crash.
It is going to be mayhem. I think that everyone's going to have a huge adrenaline dump after the co-main event. It's going to be hard to get up for the main event right after. Certainly. This one is going to be fireworks.
And folks, that is Justin Gaethje taking on Rafael Fiziev. Now, this is a fight that I think a lot of people have called for a little bit. But now, we're at the stage where Justin is at. He's had a couple of opportunities to get to the title, won an interim title. But as far as, getting the undisputed, who knows? Maybe he makes another run and gets back toward that. But that's a guy who has, I believe he's bonused in every fight that he's been in the UFC. Has more actual bonuses than he's been in fights.
That's crazy.
Like having a performance bonus along with fight of the nights in the process.
Yeah.
From the very moment that the highlight came into the UFC with the Michael Johnson fight, you knew that, in general, he had a lot of steam behind him coming from World Series of Fighting.
Yeah.
But it's always the question we see, how many times do someone from another organization, albeit a major organization at times, they have almost a spectacular or a spotless record, but then they come into the UFC and it's a little bit different. The consistency of talent at the top happens to be greater. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Yes, there can be champions, one-offs that you can pick from any of the other major banners who could compete with some of the top guys. But if you look consistently as far as that level of talent in that
depth
top
in the
five
divisions,
and the depth, it's the strongest in the UFC.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
So then you see situations like a Justin Gaethje, but then he comes in and he just performs after performance after performance, whether it be from the James Vick fight to both Eddie and Dustin. I mean, some different results in those, but like, man, you want to talk about entertainment? That is Justin Gaethje.
That's why his nickname is called The Highlight, because he's going to come out there, win, lose, or draw. He's going to go out there and create highlights for everyone to see. And he's the most entertaining fighter in the sport.
Certainly. But then on the flip side, you have a Muay Thai specialist in Rafael Fiziev. That's someone who is going to bring the fight for someone like Justin Gaethje. He is not going to he's not going to back down. He is not going to try to shoot. It's not going to be anything along those lines. Or put it this way, I will be 100% shocked. And I guess to really say, though, maybe not, because if anybody's going to turn you into a wrestler, it might be Justin Gaethje.
Getting hit with those clubs, yeah, it might turn you into a wrestler. But yeah, having a Fiziev come in, ever since he's gotten to the UFC, it's just been like an absolute different level of striking, different level of IQ when it comes to MMA. And I kind of think that correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure of their ages, but I think that in terms of MMA careers in life, I think the Fiziev is the new generation, if you will. Just pinpoint accuracy with his striking, very talented. And to put him up against someone with the likes of Justin Gaethje, I mean, this is going to be as high level as you can get.
It is, but I will offer, I guess, a counterpoint to that. And someone who also brought the fight at Fiziev, and it was a tight decision, and I thought that he dropped it against Bobby Green.
Bobby Green, yeah.
So if Justin brings that same sort of pressure and just doesn't allow Fiziev the space to get creative, then I think it's a good night for Justin Gaethje.
I can see that happening, yeah, for sure.
If there's anyone who is that violent within a phone booth, it's Justin Gaethje. I don't know anybody else that I can really name off of the UFC roster who, within the clinch, can figure out the angle to tilt their hips and leg kick you and calf kick you while you're this close together.
Yeah, just an absolute phenom when it comes to that, kicking legs in the clinch in close boxing range. Just absolute phenomenal. Curtsy, I'm excited to sit here and watch this. Like, give me my popcorn, give me my beer. Like, I don't even care. Let me sit here and just glue myself to the TV.
It's one where the fans win.
The fans win, period.
Now, there's a few fights on the card that are definitely worth tuning in for as well. Josh, what do you have your eyes on?
I have my eyes on the, I guess the next fight down after that is Brian Barberena stepping in on what, a week's notice?
Super short notice.
Super short notice. Taking on Gunnar Nelson, who we haven't seen in a minute, but he looks in phenomenal shape. I don't know if any of you have seen the video that he put out there with his yoga dancing and everything. Absolutely hilarious. But I think that this is going to be a fun fight for the fans as well. I mean, Barberena is kind of like Gaethje and Fiziev. He's caution to the wind. Let me go out here and just scrap. And then Gunnar Nelson, what is he going to be like when he gets back? Is he going to try and take this to the ground, which I think that's where his best chance of winning this fight is. But who knows? He might come out here and show a new wrinkle to his game.
Definitely. I mean, his stance and the way that he manages his distance might play a little bit of trouble for someone like Barberena, who wants to more or less brawl it out. Whereas Gunnar, with that karate stance, if he can use his lead leg and be able to, just keep the rangefinder and keep the distance, I think that might bode well for him. But downtime is a wild thing too, and as far as being able to reclaim your timing and your precision, the accuracy, so on and so forth, that made Gunnar so well on the feet with his style. And you have a dog like Brian Barberena who just wants to get in your face and just chuck bombs. It could be a car crash in that fight too.
And I understand where you're coming from with taking time off, but also, let me throw something at you, see if it sticks. Throw it right back if you don't care. But time off also helps heal. You could heal your chin up. You're not taking shots. You're healing some nagging injuries, because as fighters, it's just sore. There's a difference between being hurt and injured. And a lot of people train hurt, they fight hurt, and they don't really take the time to heal up from certain injuries. So taking that time off, he might have healed some things that's been nagging him. He might come back in a better shape, better just overall MMA IQ, just be able to do a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong at all. Like, there can be many benefits to that, but I just the counter to that is styles make fights, and when you have someone who might not give you the chance to once you get in there, to even in that first minute just maybe like, okay, like I feel what the canvas is like underneath my feet.
Yeah,
like I know where the bounce of the cage, just those little things like that. When you have someone who is just going to be immediate pressure, it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Because there are many benefits to having some time away, but there's certainly also some potential costs to pay for that time away. That's why they fight the fight, though.
That's why they play the game, baby. But this is no game. Curtsy, what about you? Who are you looking at this weekend?
For me, there's a couple of matchups on here, and they're also both on the main card that really, to me, the return of King Casey O'Neill against someone who is a top tier former title challenger in the division, like a Jennifer Maia. I like that fight just because it has some future implications. Jennifer Maia is trying to get herself back into title contention, especially with some fresh blood at the top. She's trying to get herself back into those conversations. You have someone like Casey O'Neill, who is thought of as a very bright prospect, had an unfortunate knee injury that required surgery and some rehab time. So she's been away for a little bit, but she's been on a bit of a run of her own. I want to see what she comes back with, how well, because it's different for everybody, right? Especially maybe even that first fight back after a pretty significant knee injury. Like, do you have that trust in yourself? Like, I feel like more than anything, like the body could be fine, but do you have the confidence in some of those, especially if it's in a grappling sequence? Jennifer Maia might have that leg laced, but I can explode to get out of here. But am I confident enough to have that fast twitch movement right then and there where it might be a little compromised?
And that's, I think, with high level athletes such as Casey O'Neill, I think that's something that she has to figure out, which she probably has in training. I don't think a lot of people are going to go in there like, oh, I hope it works. Like, you got to go through, especially with injuries. I know, like, just speaking for myself, like I had to get comfortable in the gym first before I was ever comfortable back in the cage. So I think that, maybe she took the time, she did the right things, and I don't think she'd be in there if she wasn't confident about it.
And I agree. I don't think she's short on confidence, especially from the outside. But you know as well as I know, sometimes when you're under the lights and when you're in the heat of the fire, it can
Those
be a
lights are
little bit
hot.
different. Exactly. But another matchup to me that also, especially because of, again, in this division, there being some fresh blood at the top, the matchup in the middleweight division between Marvin Vettori and Roman Dolidze is very intriguing to me.
Very,
It's a
very.
couple. I think that, I mean, obviously there's differences to the nuances of what they do, but there's a lot of similarities between them in terms of they want to body up on you and they want to make it grimy.
Yeah, and I think that this is a huge spot for Roman Dolidze. Like he's like you said, new fresh blood. He's coming off a huge, crazy win off of Philippines, and I think that going up against Marvin Vettori, who is, let's be honest, he's defending a spot at the top here. You know,
Right.
he's had a couple rough goes, but he's fought all the best. So we're in for a treat.
And what Roman did to Jack Hermanson
Yeah.
was like, I mean, and Jack's a grappler. Like he's a
Yeah.
grappler's grappler. And Roman Dolidze, just with that Georgian rash guard, made him look like he was just a little boy.
Just the way that Roman works on the ground is absolutely insane. The way he works off of his back, he's attacking off his back nonstop, whether it's strikes, submissions, sweeps. Like it's going to be interesting to see how Marvin deals with that because it's going to get to the ground eventually.
100%. 100%. Folks, what do you guys think as far as some of the fights on the card? What are you looking forward to this weekend on the pay-per-view at UFC 286? Is there any undercard fights that you want to hear or you have any thoughts on that we might not have covered? Hit Josh up at Josh Friend MMA, me, Jordan Kurtz, at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. If you want to support us here at the MMA Plug, please check out www.mmatees.shop. Pick yourself up some merch today. We have, like we say, the Big Yin's signature tees. We also have MMA Plug merch along with many other things out there available for you. So once again, please check that out for us. Stick around after the break. We'll be coming to you more, folks. This is the MMA Plug presented to you by mmatees.shop. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. That helps us continue to produce this original MMA content and bring it for you every single week.